earth is right-sizing? Well, we're going to talk about that in this video, so stay tuned. Hi, this is Melody Wilson, and thank you so much for coming back to my channel. I just want to talk to you today all about right-sizing. So I don't know if you've heard this word, if it's a buzzword, but I really love this word. You're familiar probably by hearing what upsizing is or downsizing is, especially in terms of real estate when it comes to I've outgrown my home, I need to upsize my house, my kids have grown up, and I need to downsize my house. What on earth is right-sizing? Well, right-sizing is something that's really close to my heart because we've actually done this ourselves personally. Right-sizing is taking a look at your current living situation and figuring out how you can be more efficient and more productive with what you have. And maybe you don't need to move. Maybe it's just a matter of restructuring what you're currently living in, and sometimes it does mean moving. So I'm just going to talk to you about the 8 concepts of the steps of right-sizing and how you do it. If you want to see more information, we actually have a webinar coming up, and if you're watching this video and it's before the webinar that's coming up mid-May 2020, then you're going to want to sign up in the link in the descriptions below. If it's already passed, don't worry, we have recorded it, and so it will be on YouTube as well. So let's dive in, and what are we looking at for the first step? So the first step is to take an inventory. Take a look at your house and what is it that bothers you right now? People, when they're thinking about right-sizing, you have a sense of discontentment with your current living situation. And it doesn't necessarily mean you gotta run and sell your house. In actual fact, you may just have inefficiently used space, or you don't have space that you want to put things. So what I always suggest, number 1, take an inventory of everything. Now, your whole house might be a little overwhelming, so you might want to figure out room by room. Or you might want to start from the very beginning and kind of like an overarching view of, okay, so what are the things that bother me right now about my house, and what are the things that I could possibly do? What are the biggest trouble spots in our house? So maybe you think your master bedroom you can't handle it because there's not enough space in the master bedroom closet. There is no space for you to have a little sitting area in the master bedroom, and that's really bothering you. Or you have a master bedroom that's so excessively large, you have junk lying around because there's a space for it. So your laundry pile is growing higher and higher. So take an inventory, write that stuff down, write all the rooms down, and write down the different things that bother you. So the second step is to organize. So let's start with the room. We always want to start in a room and in even a specific area. So if you're talking about the master bedroom closet, you can figure out, okay, so this is what bothers me about master bedroom closet. What do I have in here that I can organize? Let's put my winter clothes in a pile, summer clothes in a pile, figure out if it can fit the space. Is there a better way for me to fold the clothes? That's right-sizing right in itself. You'd be amazed at Marie Kondo's folding method we use personally in our house that fits so many things in such a small space, and it frees up space. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, my closet isn't as small as I thought it would be. It actually fits everything. Or maybe it's time to get rid of some stuff. And that brings me to my third point, which is all about decluttering. So decluttering is something a lot of us tend to hold on to things because we have the space. So sometimes our space is too big and we have the space to hide it, and out of sight, out of mind. And so your piles of things continue to grow and grow, and we're not decluttering. So it's something that I don't love doing, but it does feel a little bit like refreshing to be able to go through a room. For example, we were talking about the master bedroom and the closet. Man, I haven't worn this shirt or these pair of pants forever, and I know I'm hoping to one day fit them again, but let's be honest with ourselves, right? Don't keep something that you're never ever going to wear. If there's some sentimental value to some of some of your clothes, put a separate pile of that so that you can see what space you need for the sentimental stuff. Like, I've kept my wedding dress. Do I wear it? No, but I want to keep it there, right? But the clothes that I used to fit before I had kids, it's time to put them away. not just away, but give them away or throw them out or whatever it is. And sometimes we keep things because we don't want to be wasteful, and there's a huge rip in the hole of a big hole in the pants, and you're clearly never going to wear them again. And so we just need to get rid of it. So decluttering is such an important and awesome thing that you can do around the house to right size, because all of a sudden decluttering just clears up space and you feel like you can breathe again and your home is your home again. So my next point, I was thinking to myself, if you're stuck in your home, and what could you possibly need to live with and not need to live with? And a lot of us these days have been spending a lot of time at home. So what are the things that you have almost become naive to because you've been spending so much time with it? And could you, and would you try this while you're at home, limiting where you live in your house and going, if I can live in this small space and I'm not actually going to all these rooms and I'm not using all these things, do I need this much space? And what do I need those spaces for? Even if you don't confine yourself to a certain part of your house, you just think to yourself and take an inventory of, where have I gone in the last couple days, the last week, the last month, since I've been spending so much time at home? Do I utilize every single portion of my home? And us being at home so much right now is really going to make us realize the spaces we use and the spaces we don't use. And you can also think to yourself, oh, until I started staying at home, I really never used that spare bedroom in the basement. I never went down there. So just think to yourself, what are some spaces that you could or could not do with? And the reason I say this is because when we're reorganizing your house, maybe you need that extra space for something else. We need to repurpose that room. So that brings me right into the next 5th step, which is repurpose your rooms. Maybe that spare bedroom doesn't need to be a spare bedroom. Maybe it needs to be an office. Maybe instead of using your kitchen table as an office, maybe use a spare bedroom as an office. And think to yourself, how often do people come and visit? Do they need a whole room? Can I get away with putting a hide-a-bed down in the basement instead of using up a spare bedroom? Or do I want to put an office desk in and reorganize the furniture so there is that bed with an office? There's a lot of things you can do when you repurpose a room. I know when we had a bonus room, that room was repurposed. It was one time a hangout area where the TV and the kids' toys in the back when they were little. It became the homeschool space at one point, and then it just went back to a bonus room when we were selling it. So it's just, you got to think, what can you do to repurpose bedrooms or rooms or living rooms, or sometimes you have a dining space that maybe instead of a dining space, it could be turned into an office or a flex area or a kid's play space. So just think about the rooms and what you need each room for and what rooms you don't have and you do have. So going along repurposing the rooms, you want to examine your floor plan. Maybe you realized, I'm trying really hard to make this kitchen work. I've reorganized my pantry. I've decluttered my pantry. I've decluttered all the stuff in the kitchen I don't use, but I still just don't feel like it's efficiently run. I feel like I'm wasting space. Maybe it's too big, or maybe it's too small. So what can you do? There's a few different options, right? You can do a massive renovation. And before you do a massive renovation, I'd highly recommend giving myself a quick call or a realtor a quick call just to see the value. Because sometimes when we do a renovation, it's so specific to you that it actually takes away the property value, and you don't want to completely wreck your property value while you're right-sizing your home. So you got to take a look at your floor plan and see, maybe there's a wall you can knock out and make it a bigger concept and give yourself the open concept feel. Maybe there's a wall you put in to make it feel more closed in and have a little bit more of a cozy space that you want and not such a vast open space. Maybe there's things that you can do to renovate your home before you actually think about moving. Now, sometimes when the renovations become too large or they just don't make any sense, then you want to consider maybe you need a different home. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need a bigger home. Maybe you need the same square footage, but a completely different floor plan. Or maybe you need a smaller house. So what we did, we actually ended up moving from a 2-story to a bungalow. And when you look at the square footage, we only went down by 300 square feet. I really wouldn't call it downsizing because we still have 3 young kids at our house. We're far from them moving out, and so we're not downsizers. And we definitely didn't upsize because our house didn't increase in size, but the floor plan is completely different. We love our space because every space was completely thought out and every space is used. So it's really important as you're examining the floor plan to kind of figure that out. So the next thing that I would highly recommend doing when you're thinking of how to right size is to get a checklist figured out. So when you get a checklist figured out of all the important things that your kids want, that you want, that your partner, spouse wants, once you have that master checklist, you can kind of look at the different rooms that you've repurposed or the different floor plans and see if all that makes sense. So the last point, it's all about redesigning. So you can redesign your space. You can redesign in terms of figuring out what space would work for you, with it maybe building a new home or buying a resale home or just redesigning your current home. And maybe it's not even renovations, maybe it's redesigning by just moving things around and moving furniture pieces around. So I hope that makes sense to you what right sizing is. The best way to explain it is how to do it. And if you want a downloadable PDF, there's a link down below that you have to fill out your information and you'll automatically get a PDF sent to you of everything I covered in this video. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.